So Dr. J has been saying for a while that he wants people at Christian High to know that anything is possible. Do y'all know that yet? You say, some of y'all are saying no. Well, today Gordon Mote is going to share with you a little bit about how God makes all things possible. And he's actually, he's one of the best piano players I've ever heard. He's incredible, and he is actually blind. I know some of y'all will be here like, man, he's really good. But you gotta keep in mind that God is using even something like that to do incredible things. So will y'all please give a warm Christian high school welcome to Gordon Mote.
Thank y'all so much. All right, if you're not awake, this is gonna wake you up, but you gotta help me. That's pretty good. All right, a one, a two, a one. That's good. Oh, this is gonna be a fun group. Well, I've got good news to bring you. That is why I sing all my joy. With you I'm gonna share. Well, I'm gonna take me a little trip, yeah, in that good old gospel ship. I'm gonna go sailing through the air. Take a trip in that good old gospel ship. Yeah, I'm gonna go far beyond the sky. Yeah, I'm gonna shout and sing until all the hell drains. When I bid this old sinful world goodbye. All right, Rob, come on. So hard this early in the morning, right? It's good. Come on. Oh, I can scarcely wait. I know I ain't gonna be late. I'm gonna spend all of my time in prayer. And when that ship comes in, we're all gonna leave this old world of sin. Yeah. Gonna go sailing through the air. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little trip in that good old gospel ship. Yeah, I'm gonna go far beyond the sky. I'm gonna shout and sing until all the heavens ring. When I've been this old sinful world goodbye. All right, just me and the drums.
Thank y'all so much. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Appreciate Dr. Jeremiah and the staff here at Shadow Mountain for hosting us this weekend. And I met a couple of you yesterday, and it's been a fun weekend. We'll fly back to Nashville and get home about midnight tonight because the Denver airport is snowed in, so we're going to have to go through Phoenix. So when you're complaining about doing homework, just picture me on an airplane full of people wearing masks, crowded, and don't complain. So good to be with you. I'm going to just tell you my story, and then I'm going to leave some time at the end of this thing for some questions and answers. I hope I have all the answers. I've always thought it'd be fun to start with the answers first. That never works. I thought that was funnier than y'all did. So anyway, I'm going to start kind of at the very beginning because that's a good place to start. My musical journey began when I was just 3 years old. And I know that sounds crazy, but God works in crazy ways sometimes. And, we read in the Bible about miracles, but for whatever reason, we have decided as a culture that God doesn't really do that anymore. Well, I can tell you from personal experience that He absolutely does. And I am living proof of that. At 3 years old, on Thanksgiving Day, we were all at my grandmother's house having a family gathering. And we had a house full, as we always do. And all of a sudden, they hear the piano, and everybody wonders who it could be because nobody really plays in our family. My mom played a little bit in church, but not a whole lot. But they knew it wasn't my mom because she had her hands in the sink with soap all over them, washing dishes. So my mom was accounted for, so everybody was wondering, well, man, who could it be? And as they all kind of followed the sound of the piano into the formal living room where the upright was, they couldn't believe what they saw. Because what they saw was a little 3-year-old boy sitting on the piano bench, barely big enough to reach the keyboard. That little 3-year-old boy was me. And I was playing the song that best explains the gospel. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. I'm so glad my mom had the presence of mind to snap some pictures of the very first time I played the piano, and then the rest of a lot of those photos kind of tell you a little bit of the story about my childhood. I started school just like you in kindergarten, and I went through kindergarten, first and second grade at the Alabama School for the Blind, and that was awesome because I learned how to read and write Braille and learned a lot of things that I would need to know. But in the third grade, I mainstreamed into the public school system. Now, really what that means is they threw 7 of us into public school, and they hired a teacher that could read some Braille, and we were in class with kids who were quote unquote normal, could see and do all the things. And so I'm so grateful because we live in a sighted world. And so grateful doesn't even begin to touch how I feel about being given that opportunity. So in third grade, we started mainstreaming into public school. We were the first group in the United States to do that. I'm from the state of Alabama, from a little town called Gadsden. It's kind of close to Birmingham. That's why when you see these pictures, you see I'm a huge Alabama Crimson Tide fan, and I love sports. We have one Alabama fan. That's good. I was excited yesterday. We're a 2 seed in the NCAA basketball tournament. We haven't been in the NCAA in a while, and so I hope all of you will do your brackets, and I'm sure that yours will be better than mine. I've had some good brackets over the years, but there's always somebody that messes it up. And then my wife will do it based on the color of the uniforms, and she'll get more right than I do, and it makes me mad. But I digress. So mainstreaming into public school was a real challenge because we didn't have a lot of our books in Braille. We really didn't have any of them for a while. We might have a different edition than you had or than the other kids had. And sometimes our books might be on cassette. Now, y'all don't even know what cassette tapes are, but try finding page 287 on a cassette tape. I dare you. That's not easy. To say there were challenges, I mean, I could go in to spend a lot of time on that. But needless to say, as Grant said at the beginning, all things are possible when you're trusting in Jesus to give you strength, because in our weakness, he is strong. And so my life is a testimony to that. And I am so grateful for all the people who helped me. But most of all, I'm grateful that God always heard my prayer. And anytime I needed help, can you imagine having your eyes closed and trying to learn algebra? Can you imagine that? I was horrible in math anyway. I can do big numbers in my head, but I didn't understand geometry and algebra, and that was not easy. Some of y'all are out there going, man, with my eyes open, I still suck at that. But going through school was an interesting thing. In the 7th grade, I was the first student in the country to march in an all-sided marching band. I've always been into music and loved marching band, concert band. Did it all through high school, was percussion captain for 3 years. I was band captain for a year. And I had 2 mentors that really made a difference in my life. They were can I grab this microphone and how about this? The way I can see y'all, but no, I'm just kidding. I don't want to be sitting down talking to y'all. It's dumb. My 2 mentors through high school, they were my band director and my choral director. And they didn't just teach me about music. They taught me about life. And they taught me about, even in a public school setting, even with that, they taught me about trusting in Christ. And they didn't preach to me, or they didn't hit me over the head with a Bible or anything. They just lived their lives as an example. And as a teenager, I was really dialed in to all those people around me. I wanted to be Mr. Edmondson, my choral director. I wanted to be just like him. Thought I wanted to teach school because I was so enamored with his talent. And one day he said, Gordo, he said, you don't want to teach school. The kids will be doing all kinds of stuff that you won't be able to see. They'll be writing stuff on the chalkboard, and they'll be like playing tricks on you, and you'll never see them. And you'll want to just hit them all, and then you'll be in trouble. So you don't want to teach. You want to get out there and play. He said, there are a lot of people who were meant to teach. You're not one of them. You were meant to go do it. And so I really took that to heart. And so after 3 years at Jacksonville State University, I transferred to Belmont in Nashville, Tennessee, Belmont University. That's where I met my wife, and her name is Kimberly, and we just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. And yeah. I go to all these recording sessions, and my buddies are like, dude, you are not blind. She's a knockout. How in the world did you do that? The only thing I can tell you is when we met, I had a seeing eye dog, and he was a beautiful yellow lab. And I think he won the day, and I think he was the reason. But you know what? Since I'm talking about Kimberly, let me sing you a song. I'm going to put this back. Let me sing you a song that I wrote for Kimberly, and then I'll continue on with my story. I wrote this quite a few years ago, and the reason I wrote it was because so many people would come up to me and say, your wife is so gorgeous. She has the most beautiful smile. She's all this stuff they would tell me. And they would always end the sentence with, I wish you could see her. And that's why I wrote this song. Everyone tells me how beautiful you are, and what a lucky man I am. And though they all can see the way you look at me, they don't see it like I can. If they could see you through my eyes, they'd know where the real beauty lies. Deep inside your heart, who you really are. If they could see you through my eyes. All I have to do is gently touch your face. Baby, I can tell so much. And though I'll never see the way you look at me, I know I'm the lucky one. If they could see you through my eyes, they'd know where the real beauty lies. Deep inside your heart, who you really are. If they could see you through my eyes. In the quiet of night, when I hold you close, I can feel how bright you shine. If they could see you through my eyes, they'd know where the real beauty lies. Deep inside your heart, who you really are. If they could see you through
eyes. If they could see you through my eyes.
Thank you. All right, so that's Kimberly, and met her at Belmont. That's probably the coolest thing that happened to me when I was in college. But 2 days after I graduated from college, well, let me go back just a little bit. During finals, my senior year, senior semester, man, I was so ready to be done with college. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew it had to be better than physics of sound. And it was the hardest class. I still don't know why I had to take it. But I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that it was going to be good. And I had just gotten married, and 2 or 3 days into finals, I got a call from one of my teachers, and she said, "Have you ever heard of Lee Greenwood?" And I said, "Well, of course. I love all his music. He's great." "Well, he's looking for a piano player, and I think I can get you an audition." Well, at that time, Lee was really, really popular. Do you guys know the song "God Bless the USA"? Yeah, okay. Well, that's Lee. He had a lot of big hits, but that's the song he's probably most known for. He's a Grammy winner. He won the Male Vocalist of the Year twice for the CMA Awards. He's an incredibly talented guy, and he still sings great. Still a good friend. Well, a lot of stuff happened. Anyway, make a long story short, 2 days after graduating, I found out that I got the gig, that I was going to be hired as the new keyboard player for Lee Greenwood. So I started traveling on the road. I had never been anywhere, you know. I was just an old country boy that had never really traveled that much. The first time I ever flew on a plane was to go get my seeing eye dog to New Jersey. And they all talk funny up there, and couldn't understand what, and they always made me talk some more for us, because they loved my southern accent, I guess. But they're the ones that had the accent. I didn't. But anyway, I'm traveling with Lee, and I learned so much about the music business. And Lee introduced me to so many people, opened up a lot of doors for me, and I started doing studio work. First of all, it was just demos, and that turned into more demos. It turned into independent projects. And I worked with a couple of other artists on the road, Tanya Tucker, Trisha Yearwood, some cool people, right? And finally, Kimberly and I decided it was time to start a family. We had our first child in 1996. I came off the road when Samantha was born. Samantha's now 24, and she just got married. But back in those days, it was a real step of faith, but I didn't want to be traveling all the time. So I started playing on sessions full time and doing other things to supplement my income. But it took 3 or 4 years for me to climb that ladder. And then I got a phone call from Alan Jackson's producer. The normal piano player for Alan was sick, and they needed to go in and record. And then 9/11 happened. And I remember being in the studio that day. I don't remember who I was working with, but I just remember praying, "Lord, I don't know how this could even happen or what this would even look like, but I would love to be able to make a difference somehow. I'd love to be able to contribute to the healing of our country." And a couple weeks later, we were in the studio with Alan, and he sits on his little stool and has his guitar, and he says, I'm going to play y'all a little song. I don't know if it's any good or not, but Denise, my wife, told me I should play it for y'all, see if y'all like it." And then he played, "Where were you when the world stopped turning that September day?" Maybe you guys have heard that little song. That really did a lot to heal our country, and that was the very first #1 country song I was ever a part of. After that, things really exploded. People started calling me, producers, and I started playing on everything. And it just so happened that a group called Rascal Flatts was just starting to hit. And it also just so happened that they had a lot of piano intros to their songs. And it just so happened that I got to play on a bunch of them. God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. You ever heard that little song? That's a good little song, isn't it? They had a bunch of hits off that record, and then they changed producers. Dan Huff was the producer. And sometimes some of these things that you hear on the radio are totally accidental. Like people make a big deal about Gordon. He's the intro man. He's the hook guy. You know, if he can come up with something that when you hear it, you know what the song is. Well, sometimes I'd like to think that I'm, have a gift for that God has given me that gift, but sometimes it's totally accidental. We were cutting a song called My Wish for You. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Some of you guys are maybe too young to remember that song, but it's all over ESPN even now. But we were cutting that song, and I was trying to come up with a part for the chorus. It's, my wish for you. And so I was trying to come up with a little keyboard thing on the chorus. And the producer comes running up to him, and he goes, "That's the intro." And so that became a pretty iconic song for them. I could go through a lot of the stuff that we've done. A lot of pop producers from LA come to Nashville to record. I've recorded with guys like Lionel Richie and Bob Seger and Leonard Skinner and a bunch of pop acts. Got to record with Lionel Richie. Do you guys watch American Idol? Some of you? Yeah. So I got to record with him. He's one of the nicest guys in the world. Got to record with, do you watch The Voice at all, some of you? Blake Shelton's one of my best buddies. I've been on every record he's ever made, I guess. It's interesting how, again, sometimes things are accidental. My ring finger on my right hand, my son, who is now 13, this happened 2 or 3 years ago, he slammed it in the car door and broke it in 5 places. Well, I just happened to be recording my own tracks from my own album that day, and then in the next couple of days, I was supposed to be recording with Dan and Shay. I was supposed to be a bunch of stuff. And that Dan and Shay record that we did, I had only 2 fingers. I had this finger in a splint, and this finger was kind of attached to it. So I could only use these 2 fingers. And with those 2 fingers, we recorded a little song called, kind of went like this. You say you'll be done at 5. The smell of your perfume. Y'all heard that little song called Speechless? That's a cool song, right? They're awesome. With those 2 fingers, I had to play this intro, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but it's a thing they did with Kelly Clarkson. Now, see, I'm using the finger. I don't know if you can get a shot at this, but I had to do it like this because I couldn't use those fingers. It was really crazy, and I was a nervous wreck because I didn't think I could do it. I got a text from them last night. Did they win a Grammy or something last night? Because they texted me a big thank you with lots of smiley faces. I don't know. I wasn't watching the Grammys. I was watching the brackets. Basketball. I don't have a clue. Anyway, I've been really fortunate to do some crazy stuff. I've worked with just about everybody. If you listen to the radio, pop, country, whatever, I've worked with just about everybody in the music industry. And people say, well, how do you learn the songs? You can't see. How do you read the music? Well, I can hear a song one time and play it back to you. That's not normal. That's a God-given gift. So you say, you're blind. How can you do that? That's not possible. That's what all of Nashville said too. But God can make a way where there seems to be no way. And so I don't take any of the credit for it. I give all the credit to the good Lord because he is the giver of all good and perfect gifts. Amen? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I want to tell you about my 3 kids real quick, and I'm going to take some questions. So if you've got any questions, you can ask me anything. Nothing is off limits. And we're going to have a roving microphone to go all over and get your questions. I want to tell you about my 3 kids. I told you about Samantha. She's 24. Parker is 21. He is a junior in college at Samford University in Birmingham. He's the one that keeps me humble. We were here for the Grammys. I had an album that was nominated for a Grammy a couple years ago. I've actually was nominated for 2 Grammys as an artist and 2 as a producer. And being at the Grammys is fun, especially when you get to take your family. And that was the first time they'd ever had an In-N-Out burger. And I think that was one of their highlights of their trip. They enjoyed, it wasn't a big deal for them to meet all these artists because they see them all the time because I work with them. And so and everybody's so nice to the kids. But anyway, Parker's the one that keeps me humble. A few months ago, the Academy of Country Music Awards came out, and I was excited to hear that I had won Piano Player of the Year this year. And so, thanks. But I didn't know it. Like Parker was the one that texted me. And this is how the text went. I thought it was real sweet at first. He goes, "Dad, you won't believe it. You're the ACM Piano Player of the Year." And I was like, "Really? I didn't even know that came out today because I never remember." And he goes, "Dad, it says you've been nominated 19 times. I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." And I think he's being really sweet. And he goes, "Dad, how many times have you actually won?" To which I answered, "Well, this would be my 3rd time." To which he replied, "Dad, that's a horrible percentage." So, yeah, so that's my son, Parker. Ashton is 13, and he is a 7th grader, and he's a football player. Parker was a football player and a baseball player. That's kind of how I got roped into announcing for the baseball team and now the football team. You say, how can you announce? Well, I have spotters that tell me what's going on, and then I call it on the PA, and we call it as fast, if not faster, than a sighted guy. And people love that we have a lot of fun with the calls. In the championship game, we had a kid called Reed Williford who intercepted a pass that won the game for us. And I don't really think these things through, but when he intercepted the pass, I said, "Intercepted by Reed Williford, read it and weep. Touchdown, CPA." So we have a lot of fun with that. We try to be entertaining and all that fun stuff. So I've told you about the kids. I've tried in a really quick manner to tell you kind of my story. Again, I never want to take credit for any of it. I give God all the credit, all the glory, because he is so good to us. And whatever your dreams are, I want to say one more thing before we take questions. You know, I love what Grant said at the top when he prayed. He said, if there's anything holding you back from accomplishing God's will for your life, that God would help you get past that, and he will. There's so many things that we could use as an excuse not to do what God has called us to do. Mine's pretty obvious. I could say, well, I'm blind, I can't do that. But maybe yours is not so obvious. But we all have a gift. We all have a calling. We have all been created in God's image. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. And we've all been put here for a purpose. And nobody can do what you can do. Nobody. You may say, well, I'm not sure what my gift is. You have one. I promise you. You have a gift that is so amazing, and only you have it. So I just encourage you guys, whatever you feel like is holding you back, whatever is kind of makes you kind of scared, whatever inhibits you in some way, maybe you don't have the confidence you should have, I just encourage you to pray that God will help you with that, because he will, and he will make a way where there seems to be no way. Grant, do we have anybody that wants to ask me a question?
If y'all want to ask Gordon a question, you can just go ahead and throw your hand up, and we're going to get a mic to you. Anybody want to ask a question?
Oh, good. We got some time
If
for...
you see somebody's hand go up, just everybody point to them. And all right, here we go.
This is going to be good.
You can.
When trying to make it in the music industry, what's a good way to start?
What's a good way to start? Is that what you said, sweetheart?
That's what she said.
Okay. Byron, if I could hear more of that up here, it'd be awesome. I guess I'm blind and deaf. I don't know. Jeez. What's a good way to start? Well, I tell you what, God was really watching out for me. I mean, first of all, you got to have some talent. And, you know, you can't just say, I want to be a musician and not be able to play or sing. That kind of doesn't work. But if you have a gift for it and you want to work really hard, I mean, it takes hard work. It really, really does. And if there was a secret, like if I could give you the password, then everybody would do it, right? But I would say you got to have some people in your corner. But everybody, I believe that if you do the hard work and you get, if you're in a spot where people can hear you and see you, whether you're an artist or a musician or whatever you do, you're going to get your shot. And you just have to make the best of it when you get it. I mean, when I got my shot, I was an overnight success that took a long time. People didn't know who I was until they knew who I was, right? And when I got my shot, God helped me to make the most of it. And so that's what I would say to you and anybody who wants to be in the music business. It's not all easy. I'm going to be so tired when I get home tonight and then have to get up first thing in the morning and be creative in the studio. That is not going to be the most fun. People think it's all just really fun and it's what you see on television, but you have no idea how hard it is. But when it's, if you're willing to really work for it and work at it, you'll get your shot. I really believe you will. It's just what you do with it when you get it.
Other questions? You can throw your hand up. Let's see. We're pointing at somebody. Is your hand up or are you pointing? You know what? I'm going to get one of you guys. Josh.
How much more difficult was it for you to learn how to play piano? And do you play any other instruments besides piano?
I do play any keyboard instrument. I tried guitar. I was horrible. You'd be horrified to hear me play guitar. It'd probably give you nightmares. It did me. But now I played percussion instruments too, but anything with keys. And how much harder was it for me to learn? In all fairness, I really didn't have to learn. That day when I started playing Jesus Loves Me, that was just out of the blue. I had banged on the piano like any other kid, but I'd never really played. And God just gave me that gift. It was truly a miracle. So I didn't really have to play. Now, I will tell you a quick little story about that, though. The joke in Nashville, one of the jokes, is that I failed the piano proficiency exam at Belmont. Now, if you watch my hands, if you go to my YouTube channel, I also have a podcast. It's called Insight with Gordon Mote that you guys might enjoy if you listen to podcasts. I have a YouTube channel that you can check out. That's pretty fun. But if you watch my hands, you'll know that I don't play with the normal technique. And because of that, when I went in to take, every student had to take a piano proficiency exam. And when I went in to take it, I could play the scales as fast as the professors, but I didn't do it with the right technique, so they failed me. Which was a little bit hypocritical because they asked me to play for all their functions. They knew I could play, so I thought that was kind of, I can't say out loud what I thought it was. But that's what I thought it was. And so I had to get with a instructor with an instructor, sorry. And I had to learn how to play the scales slowly so that I could do it with the right fingerings and pass this stupid test. So I'm going to tell you a story that I'm not proud of, but I will tell you because y'all won't tell nobody, right? A few years after all that happened, they gave me I don't even remember what they call it, but they give an alumni an award, somebody who's made it in the business and all that fun stuff. And so they invited me to come, my wife and I, to come accept the award, and they had this nice reception for us. And one of the instructors came up to me and said, Dr. Landis was the guy that failed me. Dr. Landis is on sabbatical, but he wants you to know that he's very proud of you and wants to know how you've been doing with those fingerings. Now, my wife was very upset with me that I said this, and I should have had my filter on, but I didn't. I replied to him and said, well, you tell Dr. Landis I said hello and ask him how many #1 records he's played on lately. Yeah, that's not one of my finer moments. I wouldn't, my wife didn't speak to me for a whole day, so that was not a good moment for me, but it felt so good. So, y'all don't tell nobody. It's just between us. So I hope I answered your question. We got time for a few more.
All right, Gordon, we're coming to you from deep in the balcony. Here's the next question.
Hold it up. Yeah, like this? Okay. Have you ever struggled with your faith in Christ? And if so, how did you overcome that struggle? And what's some advice you would give to people struggling with Christ?
Well, that's a good question. There have been times, especially when I was your age, that I had a lot of questions about why would you, when all my friends were getting their driver's licenses and when all my friends were hanging out together and I kind of felt like the third wheel, because I had to grab onto somebody and when I felt like people were kind of making fun of me because I couldn't see, because, people can be hateful just because somebody's different. And we as a culture, when we see somebody who's different than us, we tend to look at them in a negative connotation. And that's unfair. We should take time to get to know what's on the inside. And most of my friends forget that I'm blind, which is the greatest compliment ever. But to answer your question, yeah, I did struggle because I wondered, God, why? Why me? I'm pretty nice to my brother, and I'm good to my parents. I don't talk back too much and try to do all the right things. And why? Why me? Why couldn't it be somebody else? And if you love me, or you loved any, why would you do that to me? And then after listening to people who are a lot smarter than I am and reading my Bible a lot, I realized that God doesn't make mistakes. And I also realized that He had always been there with me. I realized that the greatest gift that I had ever been given was being forgiven of my sins because I had accepted Christ when I was 8 years old. And I also realized that God didn't mind me asking questions. He's big enough to take it. And when I realized that, I knew that I could talk to Him as my best friend. And He started answering those questions. I still have a lot of questions. I'm 50, and I have more questions than I've ever had. And sometimes I don't get the answer as quickly as I'd like. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is wait. Sometimes the answer is silence, because He's waiting for me to be patient enough to receive the answer. So to answer your question, yes, I have questioned. I've questioned a lot of things. But all the answers can be found in the Bible, in Scripture, and by praying and seeking God. And I just encourage you, any of you, if you have accepted Jesus and you doubt your faith sometimes, don't ever doubt how much he loves you. Don't ever doubt that you're a child of God. You've asked him into your heart. He doesn't ever reconsider based on how good or how bad we are. It's all been bought by his blood, and there aren't any do-overs. When you ask him to be your Savior, it's a done deal, and you don't ever have to doubt that.
Gordon, we got another question coming from the balcony from our senior section over here. Jack, let's hear it.
Come on.
Can you play Speechless?
I played a little bit of it. Let's see. Okay, if I play it, how much time we got? About 10. Okay.
They say they'll sing along.
That's what I'm going to say. If I play it, y'all have to sing. Okay? So here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll see you with the smell of you. Da, 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 da. I wish we had a video of this for the guys. Da, da, da. Okay, come on. I don't know the words. Da 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 da. That was pretty horrible, actually, guys. No, yeah. So I gotta tell you a funny story. I was doing a choir retreat at Dallas First Baptist Church, and the song "Tequila" was huge at that time. And somebody in the choir stood up and said, "Did you play on Tequila?" And and the minister of music goes, all right, next question. So funny.
All right, coming with a question over from our far left section. Who had their hand up? All right.
Can I take my mask off? Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you like have dreams or like do you like have dreams and like if so, what do you dream of?
That's a great question. So what you really want to know, no, that's an awesome question. Okay, no, that's an unbelievably good question. Maybe the question of the day, that one and the last one. So what you really want to know is, do I see in my dreams? Is that really what you want to know? Yeah, okay. All right, I have dreams just like you guys, okay, when I sleep, right? But because I was born blind, my brain has never registered what it's like to see. A lot of people who have sight and then they lose it, when they dream, they see because their brain has had that sensory activity. Their brain remembers. But because my brain has never had that activity in it, it doesn't know what that is. So therefore, I've never been able to see in my dreams. That is a great question. We probably have time for one more, right? And then we'll play a song and let you guys go back to class.
All right, I got a question.
Okay, go.
Who's your favorite person to work with?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a really, I love so many of them. There aren't too many jerks in our business. I've mentioned Blake. He's been a friend for years. Dennis Shea, I've known Shay since he was 14. Darius, Josh, Turner, Martina, Faith, I don't know. There's Kelly Clarkson is cool. I have a lot of really good friends in the business, people that I could text if I needed. I mean, an example, Parker hurt his shoulder in baseball a few years ago. And I didn't tell anybody, but Reba heard about it. She texted me and said, hey, give Parker a hug from Reba. I'm really sorry. Tell him I'll be praying for him. So we're all just one big community, and that's really cool. You know, they're normal people, just like you and me. They just happen to be on TV and radio a lot. But they're just normal people with feelings just like we have. They all are insecure. You know, Blake's worried that he's never going to have another radio hit, you know. I mean, they're all insecure. They're all struggling and searching just like us. And some of them are not Christians, so they don't have Jesus to go to with all those questions. But we do. And that's the good news, right? That's the good news. Hey, let's play a song and close this thing out, unless we have another quick question.
We have one more question?
One more, okay.
Who wants it?
Kind of the same as the last one. What was your favorite song to record?
Woo! I don't have a clue. It was pretty fun to do. A little song called You Make Me Smile, Uncle Cracker, because that intro was just me being stupid. And I was totally just being stupid, like just goofing around. And they were like, that's the intro. And then that Josh Turner song, All Over Me, I was just playing, I was just goofing off. I don't know if y'all know that song or not, but that was a pretty big one for him. Interesting story, 30 seconds. People say, how long does it take you to record a song? Well, a lot of times we work on them for a long time. But there have been a couple that we did one take at the very end of the session, and it ended up being a #1 song. The two that come to my mind like that are Darius Rucker's Wagon Wheel. We did that in one take. We didn't have but 15 minutes. We thought we'd cut the whole record, and Darius is like, man, I've always wanted to cut Wagon Wheel. And so we did it, and it was a first take, and it was a #1 record. And another song, Why Don't We Just Dance, a Josh Turner song. That was a #1 song, and we cut right at the end of the session. So sometimes we work really, really hard, and sometimes it just comes together just like that when we're under pressure. Okay, we're going to close with a song, and the cool thing about this is we've never played this song together before. Is that awesome? Are y'all ready? This is a song, this is my new radio single from my new album, and just to get a little backstory, if you go on iTunes or wherever you listen to music, and you listen to this song, the solo that I played on this song was the day I broke this finger. And so they have pictures of me playing this song with blood all over the piano when I finish. So when I tell you I put blood, sweat, and tears into this record, I really did. So here we go, you ready? All right, 1, 2, 3. Your day's already falling to pieces, and you just stumbled out of bed. You ain't even poured your coffee, and the voice of fear feeling up your head. You're anxious about tomorrow when you ain't even lived today. Yeah. If you've got time to worry, then you've got time to pray. Just take it to the Lord, drop your troubles at His door, and turn around and leave them there. Why carry all your burdens when I know for certain it's a weight that the Lord can bear? Don't waste a minute treading or live a life regretting all the moments you've been fretting away. 'Cause if you've got time to worry, then you've got time to pray. Yeah.
You're looking out across the valley, and it sure does seem wide and deep. Who knows what's waiting in the shadows? The uncertainty's got you losing sleep. But you can kneel on knees that are knocking. It just takes a little bit of faith. If you've got time to worry, yeah, then you've got time to pray. Just take it to the Lord, drop your troubles at His door, turn around and leave them there. Why carry all your burdens when I know for certain it's a weight that the Lord can bear? Don't waste a minute treading or live a life regretting all the moments you've been fretting away. Alright, 'cause if you've got time to worry, then you've got time to pray. Yeah. So don't waste a minute treading or live a life regretting all the moments you've been fretting